I'm your host, James Yoder. We are diving into Michigan football spring practice. What have we learned, and what do you need to know coming out of spring practice and going into the 2022 offseason, 2023 offseason this spring, this summer, into fall camp starting in August? J.J. McCarthy, obviously Diamond Edwards, obviously Blake Corum, and a absolutely stacked Michigan football team. We're going to tell you all the 5 biggest things that I think I've taken away from multiple conversations on how things have gone for this team in the month of February into the end of the month of March. Before we do, I had a text conversation with a few friends over the last couple of days. I am a big proponent of this idea, but let me know what you guys think. I would love for Michigan and Ohio State to wear home uniforms like UCLA and USC do. Both teams wear the home uniforms every single year. I think it would look absolutely classic. But of course, as of now, they do not do that, and I pushed for it for several years on this show. But if you guys agree with me that you think Michigan and Ohio State should both change it up, wear the home uniforms every single year, give me a Y in the comments. If no, give me an N. I'm going yes, but I want you guys think Y or N. My number one takeaway from this spring practice is I think this year, and maybe in 2024, that J.J. McCarthy, I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he has got the attitude. I think he's got the work ethic. And, of course, I do think he's got the talent to be a Matt Leinart-style quarterback where he kind of comes back with an absolutely stacked backfield. I mean, I think Leinart came back to the 2005 season when he didn't have to, with LenDale White and Reggie Bush in the backfield, Blake Corum, Diamond Edwards-esque. And Leinart was still a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and he absolutely starred. Was a Heisman finalist, didn't win it that second time. He won it as a redshirt junior in 2004. But I think J.J. McCarthy can and will be a superstar for this program. He's put out about 10 or 15 pounds this offseason, and from what we've heard, that Michigan, without Diamond Edwards, without Blake Corum, and with a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th string running backs, that have not been that impressive, that J.J. McCarthy has pushed the Michigan football coaching staff to allow him to pass down the field more and to scramble out of the backfield more. We saw in the Ohio State game and plenty of other games this year, but remember that play in Ohio State game in the third quarter, middle of the third quarter, where he kind of broke off at the side and 2 Ohio State players came at him, and J.J. McCarthy just barreled those guys over. Both guys ended up on the ground. McCarthy went to the next level, went out of bounds, and you're going to see more of that. He's added 10 pounds. He's more muscular, and Michigan is allowing him with Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson and Tyler Morris and others, obviously the tight end position, to go downfield more. I think you're going to really like the Michigan downfield passing game. At the end of the day, it's what will Jim Harbaugh and this Michigan football coaching staff allow him to do if they open things up. Still want to be focused on the running game. Still want to, have a dominant rushing attack, but if they complement it with a dominant passing attack, this Michigan offense could be absolutely unstoppable, and it could be one of the best, if not the best, in the history of this program. Folks, today's Michigan Football Report is sponsored by Fume. I've got a Fume right here, and I have been loving it. We all have bad habits, me included, and we certainly know how hard they can be to kick those bad habits. Our sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from the bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. I didn't expect much of Fume when I got it, but the minty sensation is really powerful, and it really hits the back of the throat when you take a puff on it. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors for you to enjoy that you see on screen here. Look at this bad boy. Take a look at that Fume, right? It's not a vape. It's non-diffusive. You just get a minty sensation. I don't smoke at all, legal or illegal things, but I've been using this Fume as they've been a sponsor, and it's actually very enjoyable. Maple pepper, crisp mint, and white cranberry are the flavors. Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. As I mentioned, look, you want to stop a negative habit? Start a positive habit, and Fume is designed to do exactly that. You got to head to tryfume.com/chatsport. Use code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports. Use code CHATSPORTS to get 10% off your order. Look, I don't smoke cigarettes. Remember the big weed guy? obviously never a vape guy because it's not a vape. But I'll tell you what, I've been loving this fume. It just kind of relaxes you, and it's not anything that you think is bad. It's a good habit. It's not a bad one. The best way to drop a negative habit is start a positive habit, and that is fume. Try the Journey Pack today. Try fum.com/chatsports. Link is down in the comments and the description of today's video. Number 2, there's some concerns in the secondary. I think people are going to disagree with me on this one, but Michigan is one player away from a national championship, maybe a national championship front-runner team, and I think it's that second cornerback. I was disappointed when G-Mon Green decided to leave because I think he could have been such a vital part of this team in 2023. He had an extra year due to COVID and all of that, but he chose to move on and continue his football career going for the NFL, so not be there. So Amorion Walker, Miles Pollard, and others are your best bets next to Will Johnson. Now, as I told you earlier in the week, Will Johnson hasn't practiced this spring, still nursing an injury coming out of that TCU game. And from what we've heard, the secondary has had glimpses of success. Mike Sainer-Stroll, right? McCarthy Page, clearly Rod Moore. Will Johnson hasn't been there. But that next level of guys behind him, behind those, has not been there. And so one injury really potentially could put the secondary in a big-time challenge. And if Amorion Walker or Miles Pollard or others who are competing for that second cornerback start on the outside, with Mike Sainer-Stroll being on the inside, if one of those guys doesn't kind of rise to the challenge, or there's an injury to anybody in that secondary, I think we could be looking at a secondary that might be pretty challenging, especially when you go up against what Penn State is coming back from a passing attack with Drew Aller, and then not to mention the always-on Ohio State super passing game coming up in the Big House towards the end of November, Thanksgiving weekend. Hold your horses. You just gotta just take a break there on Amorion Walker and his secondary being great, because J.J. McCarthy in the Michigan football passing attack has put it on them at times during spring practice. Speaking of Ohio State, mention them a little bit. Would you like to beat Ohio State again? Like this video. Give us a like. You guys have been with us. Like, Jack, there's been 2 things in the history of the internet that have been almost foolproof. It is beat Ohio State again. Michigan's undefeated. 3 straight seasons, 2020, 2021, 2022. I started Bosa in January of 2020. Have not lost him since, after losing 15 out of 16 or whatever it was. Okay? Clear. And then the second one is we started this in 2021. Like this video. Don't jinx it. We're putting the good vibes out. Michigan win this game. We're going to do it for the Ohio State game coming up this year. But the only game they lost that we did this for, Jack, was Michigan State, and they were up by 16 in the middle of the third quarter. Clearly, the vibes were there, but the execution wasn't for that Michigan football team. Kenneth Walker got the best of them. Like this video. If you don't, I'm coming for you this season. Like the video. Let's beat Ohio State again. After back-to-back losses in the college football playoff, this Michigan football team, they are not resting on their laurels from what I've understood from the last 3 months, but most importantly, the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think a lot of times with a college football program or any sports team that's had success, and maybe unexpected success like Michigan had in 21, and then in some regards in 2022, you could start doing rest on your laurels. Like, Jack, imagine this. We get $1,400 in super chats. We might rest on our laurels the next live show, right? Rather than thinking like, oh, we get $2,000 or $3,000. And so some people are like that. Others aren't. Michigan football has fallen victim to that more times than I want to count in my lifetime. Just in general, I think the 2019 team, Big Ten championship favorites, 3 or 4 NFL receivers, Ronnie Bell, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, Tariq Black maybe coming back, Shape Harrison, 5-star receiver, Zach Charbonnet is going to get drafted, Chris Evans, like stacked 5 offensive linemen that got drafted, but that offense turned out to be a disaster with Josh Gaz. They rested on their laurels, I truly believe. 2007, Michigan was, I think, the best team come back in the country, top 3 or 4 ranked team, and they lost the first 2 games to Appalachian State and Oregon. And you go back on throughout then, the 2000 team, right? They were a top 3 or 4 team coming into the season. They lost 3 games. Michigan has a history of their best teams coming into a season underperform. I have not yet got that vibe from what I'm hearing in this program. It is Houston or bust. If we lose in the CFP semifinal, this program has underperformed expectations. When you get in the national title game, I can't predict it. I don't think anybody can say like, oh, that's our goal or else. But this goal of this team is to get the national title game. And if they don't, Jim Harbaugh, his coaching staff, his players will absolutely feel like they did not live up to the expectations of where this program is and should be with the level of talent this 2023 team has on the plate. So I mentioned this a second ago with the secondary. We got to slow the Amorion Walker hype just a tad. We really do. I'll talk about that more, it's a little deeper here in a second. But I do want to remind you guys that subscribers very much help our show. The more subscribers, it's like a check of I guess authenticity. Is that just like kind of validating? Boom! I like this channel. You subscribe to it. The more subscribers, YouTube will give us a chance to put it in the feed, our videos in the feed of more fans of the Michigan football program who are yet to subscribe. It's kind of like free marketing. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/MichiganTV. And this has actually been very successful. If you are subscribed and you have liked what we've done, just grab that link. It's down in the description, down in the comments. Text it to your friends. Send it to your Michigan football group chat. Tweet it out. Help us spread the word. Grassroots marketing, youtube.com/MichiganTV. All right, let's slow the hype a little bit. Amorion Walker was not a cornerback last year. And we came out of the TCU loss and Michigan took a couple weeks off. And then it's like, it's weightlifting season. It's 7-on-7. It's guys working outside of the structure of the program. And Will Johnson put out that video where he's doing the cone drill. And oh my gosh, that time is absurd. This kid is legit. And I bought into it too. And I do think he's going to be the starting cornerback for this team when they hit the field come early September. But I do want to stop the hype just a tad because he's not Will Johnson. He's not the next Jordan Lewis. I don't think Amorion Walker is going to be an All-American. I think he'd be a very good player at this school, but he's not up until this fall, he's just had sporadic cornerback play. And as spring has gone on and the offense has tried to game plan for the defense a little bit more and not just be vanilla with it in practice, Amorion Walker has had opportunities at times where he could have made plays against Cornelius Johnson or Roman Wilson or Tyler Morris, or sometimes even on the tight ends that Michigan throws out there, potentially even, Diamond Edwards and Blake Corum when they come back from injuries, which hasn't happened yet, but it's just something to think about, where he has not made the plays that you would expect for the hype that we threw at him end of February, early March, into mid-March, and going on. As things have shooken out a little bit more, I think things have come down to reality a little bit for Amorion Walker. I do believe he's going to be a multi-year starter. He will be the starting quarterback this year. I'm pretty sure. I would say like 80% sure he will be. But I do not think that at this point you can say, well, Michigan's got two sophomore corners, Will Johnson and Amorion Walker. They're both All-Americans. They're both the best player ever. Slow the hype a little bit. We'll see what happens. Let the kid get on the field. It reminds me a little too much of Joe Milton coming into the 2020 season where people are just like, next Cam Newton, let's ride. It's not going to be that. He's that level player. Players are ranked where they're ranked for a reason. Look at the best players on Michigan's football team this year. Diamond Edwards, J.J. McCarthy, Will Johnson, Junior Colson. They were all super recruits. And Amorion Walker wasn't as much. He was a high-rated 3-star. So slow the hype a little bit, but still expect him to be a starter as things shake out here after the Michigan football 2023 spring practice. Last but not least, on my 5 biggest takeaways from what I can understand it, what the football program thinks they missed during this past season that is separating them from a national championship, at least even being in the game, is the fact that the O-line, D-line played phenomenally well against Big Ten opponents, out-of-conference opponents, etc. in 21 and 22. When they get in these games against Georgia mostly, but even TCU, which is surprising, I think a lot of us are saying, well, the offensive line didn't come to play against Georgia, and like early on, great against Georgia, against TCU, but then where was the running game after that? That's not where the program's efforts are at. The difference between a national title or not for this program, from what I've been told, but I do think that the Michigan football coaching staff is that's the defensive line. Alabama, Georgia, a few years ago, Ohio State in 2014 with the Bosa, et cetera, et cetera. Even LSU, despite Joe Burrow having that crazy year, 63 touchdowns, et cetera, the national champions in this sport always have a top 3, top 4, top 5 defensive line. Michigan football fans thought they had won 2021. They did not. Aiden Hutchinson, great. Obviously, David Ojabo, great. We'll see what he does now in the NFL if he's off his injury. But you need 4 guys, right, from left to right, or in Michigan's case, kind of like 3 and then 2. 3 guys who can make plays. You need guys who can stuff the run in the interior, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, and you guys on the outside, Derek Moore and others, Josiah Stewart, et cetera, that are playing all conference level, top 3, 4 round draft pick level, no matter the year, to win a national championship. Because you get in a game against an Alabama or a Georgia, or hell, even a USC. I understand they're not great in the trenches themselves. It's going to come down to that. Can they pressure those quarterbacks? Can they stop those running games? Georgia made them look like schmucks in 2021, and TCU, despite what everyone thought, made Michigan look absolutely unprepared, terrible, slow, weak in 2022. And if they put pressure on TCU's quarterback Max Duggan last year, we'd have a big time difference of opinion on where that 2022 season went. Michigan would have played it in the championship game against Georgia. I don't know if they would have won the game or not, but we certainly would have felt a lot better at how last season played out after a 13-0 start. Those are my 5 biggest takeaways from this program headed out of spring practice. But I do want to remind you guys, we have just relaunched on Instagram, so make sure you follow us. It's at Michigan Football Report. The name of the show, just with no spaces. Hit us with a follow on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. I'm going to post 1 to 2 things a day, maybe like 5, 8, 10 a week going forward here. And then once the season comes, it's highlights, it's the show, it's everything at Michigan Football Report. It's down in the comments and in the description of today's video. Follow us on Instagram.